Have you ever listened to someone speaking the dialect of northern Sri Lanka and thought, wait a second, why does this share such an undeniable melodic rhythm with the language of Kerala, way over on the opposite side of South India? Well, you're not the only one. It's a question that literally stops linguists and historians in their tracks. It's definitely not a coincidence, but rather a really profound historical puzzle.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the deep historical, linguistic, and cultural ties between two vibrant populations separated by the ocean, yet remarkably, undeniably similar. We're going to look at a living, breathing documentary of human migration, trade, and resilience, tracing the deep-rooted connections between Jaffna and the Malabar coast. Here's how we're going to break this down today. We'll track this cross-oceanic connection through 5 distinct lenses. First, a linguistic time capsule. Then, maritime trade and migration, courtyards and climate, ancient culinary connections, and finally, matriarchy and social laws. All right, part 1, a linguistic time capsule, and how geography essentially preserved an entire language. Think about mainland Tamil Nadu for a second. Over the centuries, it experienced massive imperial shifts. Invasions and influence from the Nayakar and Vijayanagara empires brought heavy Sanskrit and Telugu modernization to the language there. But Kerala, it had the towering Western Ghats acting as this massive, impenetrable wall. And Sri Lanka had the Indian Ocean acting as a literal moat. These epic natural barriers completely prevented those mainland shifts from penetrating their cultures.
When we actually look at the shared ancient vocabulary, the connection is absolutely undeniable. Take the word for child. In modern mainland Tamil Nadu, you'll hear papa. But in both Jaffna and Malayalam, they use the exact same, much older term, kunchu. For sleep, the mainland says tungwathu, while Jaffna uses nithiri and Malayalam uses nidra. This proves that Jaffna Tamil and Malayalam aren't just casually borrowing words from each other. They're actually frozen forms of early, pure Dravidian roots.
Linguists are genuinely stunned by this. Experts describe hearing ancient Sangam-era grammar rules still alive in Jaffna today as being like finding a living dinosaur on an island. Take the ancient text Tokapyam, which mentions a pronoun called uvan, used for someone standing just a little bit away. That word is completely extinct in mainland Tamil Nadu today. But guess what? It is spoken daily on the streets of Jaffna. It's a perfectly preserved linguistic artifact.
Moving on to part 2, maritime trade and migration, and how these two regions actually bridge the oceanic divide.
Because this definitely wasn't just a one-time visit. The connections go all the way back to the Iron Age, which we know from ancient Brahmi inscriptions found at Jaffna's Anekodai port. These show active trade with the vast Shera kingdom of modern-day Kerala. Fast forward through the centuries, through European colonization, all the way to a highly lucrative tobacco trade that formally connected the regions well into the 20th century.
But we absolutely have to talk about the Mukavar community. Originally from the Malabar coast of Kerala, they migrated in these massive waves around the 12th century. And they weren't just fishers, they were fierce, highly skilled naval warriors. They landed on the shores of Sri Lanka and eventually established powerful local kingdoms. A famous ruler, King Vidyadhasan of Delft Island, was actually a Mukavar. They essentially laid down a permanent cultural bridge between the two shores.
Later on, European colonizers acted as this sort of unintended conduit for blending these cultures even further. The Portuguese and Dutch heavily traded across both coasts, which meant everyday words just hopped right across the water. A word like kasera in Malayalam seamlessly became katerai for chair in Jaffna. And the word for kitchen, kusini, it remained practically identical in both places.
Okay, part 3. Courtyards and climate. We'll both see how architecture became a tool for survival.
If you look at traditional homes in both places, it's clear they were cut from the exact same architectural mold. In Kerala, it's known as the Nalukettu. In Jaffna, it's the Nasaru. Both of them feature rooms positioned in 4 directions, completely centered around a square, sky-facing open courtyard.
Now, this wasn't just to look pretty. It was a brilliant feat of ancient engineering. The central courtyard acted as the lungs of the house. Hot daytime air naturally rises and escapes right out of that open roof. That exiting heat creates a low-pressure zone, which actively pulls cooler air in from the outside. So thousands of years ago, these communities basically invented a completely natural, zero-electricity air conditioner. But it wasn't just about the weather. Every single beam and low-hanging roof taught specific cultural values. The low eaves protected the mud walls from monsoon rains, sure, but those intentionally low entrances, they meant that anyone walking inside physically had to bow down, ensuring immediate respect for the elders inside.
It's a perfect example of form matching function and culture matching architecture.
That brings us to Part 4, Ancient Culinary Connections, and how they preserve the tastes of antiquity.
So what were they actually eating? Well, over time, the mainland's diet shifted quite a bit. Due to changing agriculture in Tamil Nadu, their food evolved to rely heavily on lentils, plant oils, and fermented batters, which gives us the modern idli and dosa. But Jaffna and Kerala, they both held fiercely to a much older shared culinary tradition. Their kitchens remained stubbornly anchored to the rich bounty of their coasts: pure coconut, rich coconut milk, and perfectly steamed rice.
It's literally like a menu pulled straight out of the ancient Sangam-era text, the Silapitikaram: steamed puttu, idiyappam, and endless variations of appam. While these ancient steam dishes faded a bit on the mainland, they were preserved beautifully in the kitchens of these two coastal communities. A Jaffna family might pair their puttu with a spicy crab curry, while a Kerala family pairs it with kadala, a chickpea curry, but it shows two distinct branches growing from the exact same ancient root.
Finally, we reach Part 5, Matriarchy and Social Laws, and the unique ways they protected the seafarer's family. Enter the Thessalamai. This right here is an anthropologist's absolute dream. It's a civil law that the Dutch officially codified in 1707 for the people of Jaffna. The actual name in the colonial records translates to the customs of the Malabar inhabitants. It represents this incredibly complex blending of the mainland Chola patrilineal system and Kerala's famous matrilineal system, the Marumakathatayam.
Under the Salamai, ancient laws fiercely protected the financial independence of women. Take the concept of sithanam. It's often translated as dowry, but not as you might think. It wasn't money handed over to a husband's family. It was a unique property right that passed exclusively from a mother to her daughter. The husband had absolutely no ownership over it whatsoever.
In fact, if a woman sadly passed away without heirs, her sithanam didn't go to the widower at all. It immediately returned to her sister's or her mother's family. The wealth was kept entirely within the maternal bloodline. This gave immense power and economic security to women, which was especially crucial in seafaring communities where the men were away for months at a time. Sadly, later colonial legal revisions slowly diluted this immense female empowerment, which is a tragic loss shared by both Jaffna and Kerala over time.
When we step back and look at the whole picture, the language, the architecture, the food, the laws, it proves something really profound. Borders are kind of just recent inventions, attempting to divide deeply interconnected human families. Culture has deep roots that extend thousands of miles beyond the neat little lines we draw on modern maps.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Geography, ocean moats, and mountain walls protected these shared identities for thousands of years. But today, we live in a completely borderless digital age. Will globalization slowly erase these unique ancient cultural time capsules from Jaffna and Kerala? Or will technology be the very tool that documents and preserves this incredible human connection forever? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating history with us today.